Oh, JB, man, seriously.
I was meant to close my eyes to enjoy this one, but I don't want to be like...
Me. I'm going to be slurring my words today. I can feel it. I'm tired.
I do that anyway, so...
I'm here with JB again. What's that? I don't know what I'm doing. Okay.
Completely paranoid.
I'm here with JB again. We're up in Hendon, and if you watched the last video, I said at the end of that video that I was going to take him through possibly what I would consider to be one of the hardest test routes at Hendon. It is no longer a test route at Hendon. They don't use it currently. However, it is on rotation and it could come back. But it's a real good test. And it gives us all, I guess, a good idea of how we are when it comes to the drive itself. There's nothing on this particular test route that would be, for example, hugely scary, like the Apex Corner or something like that. But it's just a tricky route. How are you feeling about that?
Looking forward to it. Happy to be the guinea pig.
And JB drives generally very well. I mean, how do you feel about your driving?
Confident, I'd say. Okay, I do stupid mistakes here and there, but... really getting better, I think.
So we're just going to get on with this today, I think. You clearly understand what we're going to be doing today.
Yeah.
This is a mock test. I'll be giving you the result at the end. Oh, just like always, like, comment and subscribe because it really does boost the channel, pushes the video out to a wider audience. I really appreciate that. If you like it, obviously hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button too. At all times, I like to follow the road ahead unless I tell you to turn left or turn right, or unless road signs indicate otherwise. If I need you to turn, I'll tell you in good time. We're going to take in one reversing maneuver, possibly an emergency stop, and we're going to be following sat-nav for about 20 minutes. If you don't know where you're going, obviously, just like last time, you can ask. Tell me how you checked that your directional indicators were working properly.
I would, in a safe place, turn the ignition on. I think hit the warning buttons.
That's it.
And see if it comes up, and it does.
And how would you know they're working?
I would go out of the car and check the 6.
That's it. That is literally it. It's really simple. You don't need an ignition for that because that is your hazard warning lights. But yeah, when we see you next, we'll be starting the test. Drive off to the right when you're ready.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Okay.
I mean, I'm guessing I'm just gonna...
As I mentioned before in the intro, this particular route is just a bit nasty. There's nothing majorly complex on it, but it can be incredibly tricky. Let's see how JB does.
Turn left.
JB's first junction is a left turn onto a busy road, but he manages it well, waits for his gap, and takes it when it comes. Now personally, I do think the sat-nav warns him a little bit late that he's going to be turning right. He still has plenty of time, but he struggles slightly to get into the right-hand lane.
After 200 yards, turn right.
One of the ways that you could get across more quickly is to reduce speed. This would allow those overtaking vehicles just to come past you a little bit more quickly.
And right.
But he ultimately gets in, and that's fine, so this is not noteworthy.
That's my signal a bit later. She was right behind me, but that's okay.
The sat-nav route direction is really late. If I was giving you that route direction, it would have been earlier. Yeah, the audio bit, yes.
Sat-navs do, from time to time, give late route directions, but they do often display the distance to the junction. On this particular sat-nav, you would see that here. Because you're going to be using these sat-navs on test, I strongly recommend that you read this and don't just rely on the audio. This will aid you in planning, and planning on the sat-nav is highly recommended. On this right turn, JB turns in a little early. He corrects it to follow the road markings and ends up in the left lane, which is normal driving position. He then picks up his speed well, considering the speed limit currently is 50 miles an hour, but just a little further up the road, he has a slight issue with a slip road. If you are on the dual carriageway, then you technically have priority, but you should also be aware of the risk and be considerate for the vehicle trying to merge. JB just wasn't anticipating this problem and finds himself in a sticky spot with a white car, which results in a slight foot race, which could easily have resulted in a serious fault. This would have been completely avoidable if he'd read the sign. This triangular warning sign is telling you there's going to be a slip road, and you have two choices. You can either anticipate a merging vehicle and reduce speed as you see the slip road, or you could change lanes. He chooses neither, and this foot race could have been dangerous. When you can, always look out for signs. Again, on this particular route, this section of road can be quite tricky. You can have buses and work vehicles that block up this lane. Planning ahead is very important. JB ultimately does okay here. The bus in front is about to pull up on the left at a bus stop. JB checks both mirrors, signals in good time, and moves to the middle lane. He is momentarily a bit close to the vehicle in front, but then moves back to the left lane, which is normal driving position. He again is then faced with a similar situation, however this time they're work vehicles. If he had been looking a little bit further ahead, he possibly could have started his move to the middle lane earlier, but he sees it a little bit late. He then starts the process, and even though this white vehicle is quite close behind him, manages to move in. He then again correctly moves back to the left-hand lane.
After 400 yards, bear left, then go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
It is possible that they canned this particular route because too many people went wrong on the sat-nav. However, JB manages this well. He does put his signal on a fraction early, but in this case you should take his speed into consideration. It's definitely not confusing, so in this case it's just not noteworthy.
Bear left, then go left on the roundabout and take the first exit. After 200 yards, go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
This route then challenges him with an immediate roundabout. Again, he does well. His positioning's slightly off, but he recovers, so again, not noteworthy.
Go left on the roundabout and take the first exit.
After a short pit stop, JB moves off well from the side of the road and then demonstrates exactly how you should manage a meeting traffic situation. He initially positions to go round, then tucks in, allows the car to come through, and then moves straight back round again. His mirror work is not bang on perfect, but his awareness of his surroundings was certainly
After
good
80
enough.
yards, turn right, then take the third right. Turn right, then take the third right.
JB then positions well in the right-hand lane for this crossroads. He doesn't rush into the junction and moves into a near-side to near-side position, mirroring the car opposite. When there's a gap, he goes. JB is approaching a crossroads over a dual carriageway, which is no right turn, but the sat-nav is going to ask him to turn right in about 200 yards. From my previous experience, this has caught a few learner drivers out. There's also a sign that indicates there is a no right turn. And as always, I recommend that you read road signs. JB does read the road signs, but he doesn't anticipate the lights changing.
After 200 yards, turn right.
And gets slightly caught out, bringing the car to an abrupt halt. There's no one behind us, so this is just a driver fault for mirrors change of speed. If there had been, that would have been risky.
It was a bit last minute.
It's okay. Do you know where you're going?
No one behind. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
JB again finds himself in a bit of a foot race, but this time with a Porsche. The Porsche is a bit cheeky trying to overtake here, but JB steps on the gas, forcing the vehicle to remain behind. He then positions well in the filter lane to turn right. and is not tempted to take small gaps. JB then suitably waits for the traffic to pass and then goes. Next up is the parallel park.
And if you could just pull over on the left, just before this grey car.
Right before it's there.
Just before the grey car, yeah, that's it. You can stop in this bay here, that's fine. Okay, brilliant. So we do the reverse parallel park exercise using that car there. I'd like to move off next to it and then reverse the car back in, finishing off within 2 car lengths, keeping reasonably close to and parallel to the curb. In this instance, treat the dropped curb as if it's a normal curb. Okay, you don't need to reverse back all this way to not stop on it, but you mustn't go up it.
Okay. Should I stop in this parking bay as well?
No, within 2 car lengths of space.
Okay. Yep, no
Okay.
problem.
You ready?
So it's okay if I'm in front of the driveway?
In this instance, yes.
Just wanted to check.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not a bad thing to clarify, because obviously stopping in front of a driveway is generally something you wouldn't do. But if the examiner says in this case, don't worry about the driveways, you know that's fine. JB now makes a big mistake. He's got a car coming straight towards him and he starts to parallel park. The car is actually swinging out to the right, which forces the vehicle to slow and then go round. This would be a serious fault for observation on the parallel park. If you have an oncoming car, the best thing you can do is just wait for it to pass, or at least stop, so it allows you to proceed. But by continuing without acknowledging the oncoming car, well, that doesn't tell the examiner that you're aware of it in the first place. You shouldn't be moving, as you are the hazard. JB then has a slight loss of control and the car rolls backwards and gently caresses the curb. In this case, this is just a driver fault. He then moves the car into correction and doesn't check his blind spots. Again, not demonstrating good all-round effective observation. He's already got the serious fault, so that's enough for this one.
Okay. That's it, you done?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I'm within that. In front of that, I would not park there otherwise, but...
That's fine. In this instance, it's fine. Okay? So whenever you're ready, drive on.
JB moves off well, checking roadside to make sure it's clear. And then I have a little battle with the sat-nav as I try to give extra information.
And just after this turn, if you could just find
At
some...
the end of the road, turn right, then, at the end of the road, turn left.
Okay? Just
Before
after
the
this-
left turn?
Just after this turn,
Yeah.
if you could
Turn right, then, at the end of the road, turn left.
Really rude sat-nav.
in this instance, could you just pull up just before the van here?
Yes.
That's it.
JB's about to have to move off at an angle, and it's quite a tricky spot.
Turn left, then keep left.
Because of the junction we've just exited from, cars can suddenly appear.
Fantastic. Drive on when you're ready.
JB has no such problems and moves off easily. But the next turn is onto a busy dual carriageway, and this can cause problems. Not only when it's busy can it be tricky, but it's quite a tight turn, meaning it's virtually impossible to stay in the left-hand lane once emerging. JB is ultimately very lucky here, as it's not busy at all. It's fundamental that when you emerge onto a dual carriageway like this, that you understand that you will cross over to the middle lane. Because of this, always assess that the middle lane is also clear. JB picks up speed well on the dual carriageway and then has two turns in quick succession.
After 100 yards, keep left, then bear left. Keep left, then bear left. Bear left.
This section of route, although not overly complicated, can be a little confusing to learner drivers.
That's it. Now just follow the road ahead. That's it.
And through every tunnel, there is light at the end.
I see what you mean.
After 200 yards, cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
JB's now going to have to deal with a succession of 3 roundabouts in a row.
Cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
He correctly picks the right-hand lane here. Gets a little confused with signals. Doesn't really need to apply one here. Ultimately, it doesn't confuse anybody, so in this case, it's not noteworthy. But if you're going to apply the signal, apply it earlier. And straight after this roundabout, he's got another one to deal with. Again, he deals with it well.
Cross the roundabout and take the second exit.
And then straight into the third. He has a minor battle with the signal, but he eventually sorts it out and it doesn't confuse
Go left
anybody.
on the roundabout and take the first exit.
So again, not noteworthy.
How many roundabouts?
Whoever thought of this route was just evil.
I know I did not do perfectly, but I did my best.
Personally, I think he did very well.
This route is here to test us, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's here for.
But there's one more roundabout he's got to deal with.
Feels like a roller coaster here.
Literally.
Oh wow.
After 200 yards, go right on the roundabout and take the fourth exit. Then you have reached your destination on your left.
JB makes a small mistake on the clutch here. He's downshifting to gear 2, but he just brings the clutch up a little bit too quickly.
Go right on the roundabout and take the fourth exit. Then you have reached your destination on your left.
We're going to talk about that more in a sec. He deals with this roundabout well though, enters with good early observation, moves all the way around the roundabout, checks both mirrors and signals well for exit. Now back to that clutch. For any of you that don't understand why the car jolts like this, I'm hoping to explain it now. Pay attention to what happens to the revs as JB puts the clutch down, and then as he lifts his foot off the clutch, how it bounces upwards. Whenever you downshift, to prevent this from happening, always bring the clutch up slowly.
Okay, so when the sat-nav finishes, I'll just be directing you as normal, okay?
Yep.
This route takes us back onto the dual carriageway heading back to test centre, and JB, although he's on a slip road, realises late that we're joining a carriageway.
See the marking on the ground, so I was not sure. Okay. Oh, now I'm used to the sat nav. It feels weird.
Okay, so again, I'm just directing you as normal, okay?
I guess it's possible that it could kind of sneak up on you, but there are quite a few clues, including all this traffic on the right-hand side. He does look. He just doesn't signal until the last second. It felt a bit rushed, and I would have preferred a shoulder check earlier, but a signal was definitely necessary. We're on a straight run back to test centre, and there's not much left, so we're just going to jump straight to it. JB has some parked vehicles up here on the left-hand side, and does well. He checks mirrors, signals to give a little bit of room, especially as he realises it gets a bit tight, and then checks mirrors to come back in. He doesn't really need to reapply the signal back to the left, but again, it's not an issue. It's just not necessary. And as he approaches the set of traffic lights at the top of this hill, I would have preferred him to be a little bit more defensive. There is a bus at a bus stop that is starting to indicate to move off, and he squeezes through. This has no impact and effect on anybody. I possibly would have just done it slightly differently. However, not noteworthy in this instance. And for some reason I left the show me question right to the very end, and so here it is.
And then when it's just safe to do so,
Yeah.
if you could put your rear demister on for me, please.
Rear demister.
Yeah.
JB keeps full control of the car as he finds the rear demister, and we're one junction away, and it's the end of test.
And then we're just going to take the next road on the right, which is just past the traffic island.
Oh yeah.
As JB's turning right here, a car decides to hold back for him even though it's the other vehicle's priority, flashes its headlights to tell him to go. This sometimes puts the learner driver under more pressure, but JB handles it well and gets moving straight away. And that's it. End of test.
How was that?
Cool. Very nice. I did quite a few mistakes.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. What do you think you did?
Hard to remember everything now.
Okay, instead of doing that,
Yeah.
do you think you passed or failed that?
I'm trying to figure out if like one of the mistakes I did is a serious fault or not. I'm not quite sure, but there were quite a few. I'm going to say no.
You're going to say no?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Can you think of anything in particular? Or a bit of a blur?
Yeah, a bit.
It's a tough route.
Yeah. There were places like weird stuff happened, and I made some mistakes maybe, but I'm fairly okay with it. But like a few other, like the burst starting, which was basically the same mistake that I did right before we recorded.
Oh, just at the end here?
Yeah.
Mm.
That I kind of.
Yeah,
I should have. Seen
okay,
that before.
we're coming up the hill.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to be honest. That particular situation, nothing happened.
No. But it was exactly like the same situation.
But you're coming up the
I've been in
hill.
before.
You've got all
Yeah.
that traffic on the right hand side. You've got a bus on the left hand side. What was your speed doing?
A bit too fast.
What could you been doing with it?
Slow it down.
But nothing went wrong.
No. I can't. I'm not sure there were any.
You were living on the edge in a few places. Okay, look, I'm going to put you out of your misery. It's a fail, but you're going to kick yourself for this, seriously. The parallel park.
I lost control?
No, you just started. First of all, you didn't do a right blind spot check on before you moved. Okay, you then did it,
Yeah.
but you didn't do it before you moved. And that one, even that, there was a car coming straight at us.
Yeah.
And you just went straight into swing out. The car had to slow down, had to go round you.
I saw that was definitely not perfect. I thought a few driver faults, but yeah.
I think on your last one, you got away with it because you were bringing the car in, right? But this one,
Yeah.
you're swinging
Mhm.
out.
Okay, definitely something I need to work on.
So 100%, we need to go away. We need to go away and work on
Parallel parking.
parallel parking
Yeah.
because that was a little bit of a weird one. That one. Definitely don't want to be seeing that on your test. And then even like afterwards, when we had to do a reverse again, you don't check your blind spots. It's not ingrained in you. And then you went, stop a second, let me redo that. Yes.
Yeah.
Even on the correction, you didn't check your blind spots properly. There's an issue there with reversing, so we're definitely going to be having a look at that, that's for sure.
Okay. Yeah.
The rest is pretty much all minors. I mean, there's a couple of times which you're right on the edge. The dual carriageway, just now, coming back onto the dual carriageway. It was a real afterthought, or you just didn't realise that you're entering a dual carriageway. I started looking over my shoulder, so did you. The car changed lanes, so you entered the junction. There was no signal there, which you should have had a necessary signal at that point. So there should have been a signal at that point to enter the dual carriageway.
Oh,
but
I
you-
signaled,
I just
but like way too late.
Yeah,
Was that then? Yeah.
it was late, and
Yes.
your checks were late. Everything was late. You got
Yeah.
away with it. That when you braked really heavily, it was just like a mirror's change of speed. You didn't impact anybody, so it's not a problem at all. A couple of times you're putting the signal on really early. But look, overall, listen, I thought you did really well.
Yeah. There were a few, not hiccups, let's say.
The mini roundabouts,
Yeah.
you know, you're doing your mirrors and then you decide you're going to do a right signal. There's all a little bit late. There's no impact and not affecting anyone behind.
Which one?
Just those.
Oh, there is one. I put the signal
all
because
the roundabouts were in quick succession.
it was. I think they were too small to really have an impact.
Yeah, no, I just don't think it would have impacted anybody anyway.
Yeah, but I was a bit traumatized
But it's,
by the last one.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
At some point I put one, it was obviously like you're already in the road, like you don't have time to signal, but I still did it because I was a bit...
Unnecessary. It's
Yeah,
kind of like
yeah.
going ahead anyway.
You're right, yeah.
Yeah. Because the left lane is going where?
left.
And then your lane is the only one that can go that way. So it's kind of unnecessary. So it really didn't impact anybody. It was all a little bit late. It was a bit messy. But I'm really looking for the big things here, really. I thought you did really well.
Okay, I don't think there was like any major faults, but I always kind of felt a bit like, oh, that was like a bit last minute. That was not perfect. That was, that was like the general
I mean, how did you find that route? I mean, I kind of asked you earlier on the...
Weird, really weird. Yeah.
It's nasty. Like I said, it's not on there anymore. JB has been tested on what I would consider to be one of the hardest routes, and overall he did really well. He messed up on the parallel park. Anyway, this has been JB's second mock test. Again, I think he's done incredibly well. Give him some love in the comments because I think he deserves it. I think, again, thank you very much for allowing us to put this on YouTube. But if you get any value from the video, obviously hit the like button, subscribe if you like more content, and I will see you in the next one. Get well out.